Welcome, everyone. Have you ever really stopped to think about what's happening when you dissolve something as simple as salt or sugar in a glass of water? I mean, you stir, it just vanishes, right? And the water still looks like, well, water. But underneath that calm, clear surface, a huge transformation has just taken place. It's actually changed the very rules of how that water behaves.
So let's dive right into that. Why does that one little pinch of salt change everything? Because this simple kitchen experiment, it holds the key to a fundamental principle of chemistry. It's a principle that, believe it or not, keeps your car from overheating in the summer and melts ice off the roads in winter. So what is the secret behind this simple act of dissolving?
Okay, so before we get to all the cool effects, we've got to understand the one simple rule that's behind all of them. This is the central idea, the one thing that makes this whole thing tick. And here's the official name for it. It's called colligative properties. Now, that sounds pretty complex, I know, but the idea itself is beautifully simple. It's all about counting. These are properties that change based only on how many little particles you've dissolved, not what those particles actually are. It could be salt, it could be sugar, it could be something else entirely. It just doesn't matter. So let's just hammer this home because it's the most important takeaway. Chemistry, in this case, doesn't care about what the particles are. It only cares about how many there are. It's a numbers game. The more particles you have, the bigger the effect. Just keep that one core idea in your head as we explore what happens next. All right, let's get into our first property. We're going to call this one the Great Escape, and it's all about how easy or how hard it is for water molecules to escape from the liquid surface and turn into a gas. So take a look at what's happening here with just pure water in a closed container. You can see the water molecules are zipping around. The ones at the very surface, if they're moving fast enough, can break free and escape, turning into a gas or vapor. This vapor then pushes down, creating what we call vapor pressure. It's this constant cycle. Some molecules are escaping, while others are returning to the liquid. Now watch what happens when we add our solute particles. Those are the little blue dots here. They mix in and they take up space right there at the surface. They're basically acting like tiny little roadblocks, physically getting in the way of the water molecules that are trying to make that great escape. It's just become a lot harder to get out. And the result is pretty simple, right? If fewer molecules can escape, the pressure from that vapor goes down. This is the first, most fundamental change we see. Adding a solute always lowers the vapor pressure. And this one single effect, it sets off a whole chain reaction. So, if we've made it harder for water to escape into the air, what do you think that does to the temperatures where it boils or freezes? This is where we start to see the actual boundaries of water's states begin to shift right before our eyes. Just think about it for a sec. Boiling happens when a liquid's vapor pressure gets strong enough to push back against the air pressure around it, but we just lower the vapor pressure by adding all those solute particles. So now we have to pump in way more energy, more heat to get that pressure back up high enough to boil. The boiling point actually goes up. And the exact same getting in the way idea works for freezing, too. You see, for water to freeze, its molecules have to line up in this very specific, very orderly crystal structure that we call ice. But our dissolved solute particles, they're just bouncing around in there, causing chaos and disrupting that whole process. They make it much harder for those ice crystals to form, which means you have to get the solution even colder to finally force it to freeze. This little table really lays it all out for us. You got pure water boiling at a familiar 100 degrees Celsius and freezing at 0. But a solution, well, its boiling point is now higher than 100, and its freezing point is lower than 0. The window where it stays a liquid actually gets wider. And this is not just some weird thing that happens in a lab. You see this in real life all the time. It's exactly why we throw salt on icy roads. The salt dissolves, it lowers the freezing point of the water, and it melts the ice, even if the air temperature is still below freezing. It's also why we put antifreeze in our cars. It raises the boiling point to stop it from overheating, and it lowers the freezing point to stop the engine from cracking in the winter. Okay, so far we've talked about these particles getting in the way of water changing states, but they can also influence the movement of water itself through a really powerful process called osmosis. Osmosis is basically nature's way of trying to balance things out. If you've got two solutions separated by a special kind of barrier, one that lets water through but not the solute, water will automatically move from the side that's more watery or diluted to the side that's more concentrated. This U-shaped tube here makes it super clear.
It's split down the middle by a membrane that lets water pass but blocks the solute particles. Now, the right side has a higher concentration of those particles, so to try and even things out, water molecules start rushing from the left side over to the right. And you can see the result plain as day. The water level on the right actually rises.
This powerful rush of water actually generates a real measurable force. That force, the one that's pushing up the column of water on the right side, is what we call osmotic pressure. And trust me, this is a huge deal in biology. It's involved in everything from how our kidneys filter blood to how plants can pull water all the way up from their roots. Okay, let's pull all of this together and look at the big picture. We've talked about 4 different effects, but what's so cool is that they all come from one single, really elegant cause. So we've covered 4 distinct things. Vapor pressure gets lower, the boiling point gets higher, the freezing point gets lower, and we create this thing called osmotic pressure. And here it is, the grand unifying idea for all of this. All these changes happen for one incredibly simple reason. The dissolved particles are getting in the way. They block the surface, they mess up crystal formation, and they create these imbalances that force water to move. It's all just microscopic traffic jams leading to huge, real-world changes. So the next time you salt your pasta water, or you see a truck salting an icy road, you'll know the incredible chemistry that's at play. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If this one simple principle is running so much of our daily lives, where else in nature, from the tiny cells in our own bodies to the massive chemistry of the oceans, is this fundamental numbers game quietly shaping our entire world? If you found this explanation helpful, stick around for more. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next one.